You get it on Gussy right there. There we go. All right, guys, welcome to the live well here at Fish North Georgia this Thursday night. Got an absolutely fantastic episode for you guys. Been looking forward to this gentleman joining us for a long, long time. We've got Jeff Gustafson, better known as Gussy, joining us tonight, and we're going to be talking finesse fishing, and we're going to talk some Lake Guntersville because that's where he's at right now. So this one's going to be a good one. So to my left, let me introduce who I got in here helping me out tonight. To my left, I got MPFL pro Robert Blesky.
How's it going?
And to my right, I've got the Godfather himself, Kevin Thornton, right there in all his glory.
I'm still here.
You're still here. And then back there, of course, we got Tim. There we go, like that. So let's go ahead and take care of the business. Again, guys, we said every week, if you want the absolute best installation of your electronics in the North Georgia area, Sonar Pros, Trent and the guys over there, you know that is the place to go. 770-530-4505 by appointment only. Hey, you can take it elsewhere, but you're going to end up taking it to him to get it fixed. So definitely appreciate those guys. And, of course, if you're on Lake Lanier and you're looking to have the best experience chasing those big spotted bass, Kevin Underwood of Lipsticker Fishing. Check him out on Facebook at lipstickerfishing.com. You will not be disappointed. We see the pictures every week. He's always on them. And if you want the absolute best rod sleeve in the market, Evolve Rod Sleeves out of Texas. Guys, hey, they float. They got all the protection. They got the lanyard. But best of all, your hooks do not get stuck in them. And that is something all of us guys that don't take the time when we put our rods up in a rod locker, hey, you need these. Evolve Fishing, we got them here at Fish North Georgia. If you're in the kayak, paddle sports, or any of the water sports games, our buddies over at Fest of Water off Highway 369 going towards Lake Lanier, they can set you up whether you're fishing, going whitewater rafting. Like I said, if you're one of those people that like to do yoga, sitting out on the paddleboard in the middle of a lake, they can set you up with all that. www.festofwater.com. And if you're like me, you're always hung. You need a good lure retriever like that. Richard Key makes the absolute best. The Money Saver lure retriever. We got them here at Fish North Georgia. With the price of baits these days, you need some of these in your boat. Definitely get you a Money Saver lure retriever. If you're in the Jasper, Georgia area and you need some tires, there's not a better family-owned business than right over my shoulder, Turner Tires, 706-253-3339. Guys, Brock and the guys are fishermen like us. Always shop local. They'll do you right. And, of course, our favorite, Etowah Mead Beer and Wine in Dahlonega, Georgia. Tonight, I'm doing the 1833. Kevin, what are you participating in over there?
I got the RB&B, raspberry, blueberry, and blackberry.
And that's one of your favorites.
It is.
So you've got a mead. So they do mead and beer. If you're not in the Dahlonega area, they can ship mead across the country. One of them crazy laws because it's considered wine. But you can always go on their website and pick those up. So we're going to enjoy it tonight, and let's go ahead and pull our guest of the night up. We want to see that smiling face right there. There you go. So, Gussy, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I'm doing a little Instagram in here.
You Instagram right on.
Telling people I'm on the show, yeah. So we're I'm good. I'm doing good. I've been at Guntersville for the last this 4 days now, and having a time over here.
Yeah, so that's good. So you know about the show. We're going to let the comment section. I've got some ideas of what we want to talk about, but we never know where the guys in the comments are going to take us. So let me say hello to everyone right there. Oh, Tony, the how-to hero, has been demoted from his TV to his phone by his granddaughters. So, man, that's the way it is. So Clint Bartlett says, Gussy is the coolest.
Yeah,
and,
I know Clint.
You know Clint?
Yeah.
Bless your heart. That's all I'm going to say is bless your heart right there. So, since you're at Guntersville, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing over there and what's going on with Guntersville?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the dream ledge fishing. If you like to fish offshore, I do. It's been kind of fun because the last, I started fishing down here 10 years ago and got to go to Kentucky Lake and Pickwick, Chickamauga, like when ledge fishing was still really easy, really good. And it seems like I just haven't got on a good bite for quite a few years now. It's always tough and grindy, and it's going down out here pretty good right now. You can find big schools. You're not going to sit there and catch them every cast, one after the other. They're smart. They get fit. There's more pressure here than anywhere probably. But the fishing's good, and I mean every other time it's over 4 pounds. I mean it's pretty impressive. This place is a factory for how much pressure it gets.
Okay, I got a couple of comments saying we're getting a lot of feedback from Gussy. So do you know what that is, Josh? As far as on our side, So maybe we might have to turn a mic off. I think turn that TV down a little bit.
I'm getting it.
We want everybody.
It.
You're getting it. That might have getting some feedback from Danny's side. So I think our TV was up a little bit too loud. So a lot of echo. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comment section if that's better. Now you just fished a tournament in Alabama.
Yep.
And how was that?
Not my best. We were at Wheeler Lake last week, just below Guntersville. Not the same quality of fishery. I had a pretty good first day. I had 14 pounds, and I was in like the 20s. And then I only caught 10 pounds on day 2, and I ended up missing the cut by like 2 ounces. So pretty disappointing. 10 grand, and I need the points. You know, I'm sitting a little bit outside the classic line right now, and obviously don't want to miss that. But
right.
Yeah.
Well, that leads into our first question of the night from Fred Ashcraft. How did it feel winning the Classic?
Yeah, that's the dream for anyone that fishes tournaments, right? Like I still have moments every week where I'm like, that actually happened. I can't believe that actually happened. But yeah, milk it, I guess, as much as I can. And but it was an amazing weekend, and had a lot of friends and family that were there, and got to share it with them and a lot of the other. You know, I'm friends with a lot of the anglers, so it was a special week for sure. And you know, if you love doing this stuff, which I'm sure most of the people that are watching right now do, it can happen to anybody. You know, it's dreams happen, and I'm certainly a regular guy and just chasing the dream, and luckily it's worked out. But
yeah, okay. So we're still getting comments that the feedback's bad on your side. So
will it help if I get some earphones?
Probably. That's what Josh said. You want to go do that real quick?
I got some.
All right. So guys, we're trying to work it out. Hey, this is just one of them things. When you do a live show, this stuff kind of happens, but we like to power right through it. So we're not too worried about that. You know, Rob, while he's going to get headphones, just kind of thinking, sitting here talking to a guy that's won, the Bassmaster Classic, you're in the MPFL, you're trying to strive to those things, in your professional career. Just kind of, what does it make you feel like when you're talking to somebody that's won it, knowing where you want to go?
I mean, he won the Super Bowl. I mean, that's to talk to anybody that's done that. There hasn't been very many people. I mean, how many Bassmaster classes have there been? Like,
you're the historian.
Yeah. Over 50?
Oh, over 50.
Yeah. I mean,
what, 53, 50?
He's one of 53 people that have done it.
Anthony Hampton, we don't ever use headphones, so I'm not sure why we're getting feedback tonight. So it says feedback incoming from FNG mics, lack of headphones, but we never use headphones, and we never have any problems with feedback. So of course it's because we got the biggest guest we've had on here. That's the way it happens. So you hearing anything on your side that sounds bad?
Sounds like it's the TV coming into your mics.
That hasn't happened before. So anyway, so we're working on it, guys. So Gussy's got him some headphones on now. So he's back. I don't know if that sounds better on your side. We're trying to figure it out. Hey, we're low budget.
It's all good.
Here, so.
I'm on the road doing this from a friend's place. So like, I'm not doing it from home. I do these all the time, and I never wear the earphones because I've never had any issues. But is it?
We never wear them either. So it might just be something in the water here and all that. So you've got a tournament coming up. It's on Smith, right?
Yeah.
And so what is that in 2 weeks or?
No, next week. We actually start practice on Monday. So that's why I just came over to Guntersville, just spend the week here and fish. It was too far to go back home. And I kind of, obviously I know a lot of the guys from the Lanier area and probably listeners of the show. And that's probably my favorite lake in the South. And I threw around coming over there for a few days, but it's the fishing's been good here. So it's just been fun I think I've caught a 6-pounder every day this week. And I don't get to do that all the time once I go home. So. Okay.
So we got, it seems like everybody thinks the volume is better now. So we're going to roll with it like that. Beautiful. So let's talk Lake Lanier, because that's our audience. Yeah. I know you love the lake.
Yep.
This time of year, summertime, hot. A lot of guys are fishing on the brush and all that. If you were to come to Lake Lanier tomorrow, what are you going to do starting your day off? How are you going to target these spotted bass?
Well, my education in spotted bass came from Jason Johnson, and we met. He was a co-angler the first time we met. We both were fishing the FLW tour, and he was my co-angler and my first year, and he gave me the worst beating that I've ever had from a co-angler. But we hit it off and got to be good buddies, and I've spent some time out there with him, but I would be going and fishing brush for sure. I actually fished the TAA tournament there back in March, the no live scope event. And all I did was I went and marked as many brush piles as I could during that 4-hour ride around. Probably marked 70, 80, I don't know, a bunch of them. Obviously not that hard to find out there. And I had a good time. I had a good tournament. I think I had around 18 pounds every day. But like I got back after that ride around. I went for dinner with Chris and Corey Johnston, the other Canadians. They both fished, and obviously Chris won. And they told me, Gus, you're effed because there's largemouth on the bank everywhere. And I've never even caught a largemouth in Lanier. I probably have 60, 70 days out there, and I've never even caught a largemouth out there. So I wasn't going to fish for them, but it worked out. I had a pretty good tournament and I had a lot of fun. That was what I was like hoping to do when I went there for that. But I'd be, I like to fish the brush out there and fish offshore. That's just sort of growing up in Canada and fishing up there. A lot of the ways that I fish up there sort of translate and work at Lanier.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jason Johnson. So here's a funny story. I did heating and air for 25 years before we started this. I actually worked for Jason.
Oh yeah.
I did it's a heating and air company. I did all his rough end construction and all that. So, and I remember when he was on, he was doing the FLW and he would be gone for 2 weeks every month, coming back and everything. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of a small world. That's our connection right there. And so do you know Big Al over at the MPFL?
No, I know who he is, but I don't think I've ever met him.
Okay, well, every Thursday night he gives us a hot chick from the 80s. All right, and so his selection tonight is Heather Thomas from the Fall Guy TV show. Do you know who Heather Thomas is?
No.
So,
sorry, Big
how about
Al.
you, Kevin?
I do.
Okay, well, rank her.
8.
An 8 out of 10?
Yeah.
What is she lacking to keep her? Yeah, what keeps her from being a 10?
Just some of the things that Big Al's brought up before, the other names.
The other names, compared to his other girls, this is not as good?
She's not as pretty as the other girls.
Okay, so Big Al let us down a little bit tonight with Heather Thomas. So, but Brian Marcuson says great choice. So I don't remember her.
I don't even know who she is.
I remember vaguely.
Standards.
Huh?
I've got standards.
You've got standards, and Heather Thomas does not meet Father Time standards.
Well, she's an 8.
She's an 8. What's the standard?
A 10.
Okay, I got you. There we go. So
Heather Locklear would be a 10.
Heather Locklear is a 10. Heather Thomas is not.
No.
Okay, well, there you go. So, but Big Al, you failed tonight, big dog. So, you ever do this on any of your other podcasts? You talk about hot chicks from the 80s?
Well, I've been on Pat Renwick's several times, the Stray Cast show. He's from Chicago, and he's got an interesting and different show. And these kinds of things have come up on there before. But I appreciate it. I don't need to get asked, how I won the classic for the 100th time. So that's good. I like this.
Well, so that's the thing is I realized that, and I was talking to some guys about going down to ICAST and last year, and here's all you guys walking around and all that. And I'm like, I just give the head nod and just say, hey, because there's no people always want pictures with you guys, want to know how you did this and how you did that. So I imagine it does get old, and you're world famous now. You realize that, right?
If anyone ever wants a picture to talk fishing, I'm always up for it. That's no problem. It's all good. But
I got you at that.
Yeah. No.
So Big Al said standards. What the hell is that after last week's discussion? So last week
he's got a point.
He got a point. Last week we spent about 40 minutes on how to use the bathroom out of the bass boat. Have you seen Randy Blockett's video on how to do that, or do you have a video of your own?
I don't, but I've sucked for maybe 2 of Randy's clickbait videos, and I just won't do it anymore. So I haven't seen Randy's video on there.
I don't blame you. Well, speaking of that, so let's get back to Lake Lanier to get back on some serious fishing for a moment. I'm sure we'll go down a rabbit hole here in a little bit. what is your go-to on Lake Lanier if you're going to? So what I always like to ask the guest on this show is, we got a lot of the weekend warriors that watch us, the common guys like that, who don't get a lot of time on the water.
Yeah.
Want to get out there and try to maximize their time while they're there. So maybe give us a thing or two for somebody going out, say Saturday. Where would you start?
Yeah, you know what? I'd 6 or 8 rods for sure, but and the standard stuff, a little swim bait, a jerk bait. But I have caught hundreds of bass on a green pumpkin Z-Man hula stick. It's a little Ned rig bait. It's a 4-inch little stick bait, and I fish it on a 1/4 ounce jig. And I've caught more bass on Lanier than anything with that bait. Made a top 10 in an FLW tour the first time I went there. Caught most of my fish in that TAA tournament on it. And it's simple. And I mean, yeah, they see it and they get angry, and it catches them, and it's pretty simple. It's also like one of my favorite smallmouth baits up north too. But yeah, I use green pumpkin. I never use another color.
There is no other color.
That's just hard to beat. But the Nico rig and stuff. I know, I've spent a lot of time out there with JJ and Cody Meyer, and they're really big on the nail weight worms.
Right.
Always have that tied on. But yeah, I've caught quite a few on a jerk bait out there, but otherwise, most of the time I'm off the bank and fishing deep.
So what I found interesting with the TAA tournament, of course, you had the 3 Canadians. You 3 Northerners came down here, and you all finished very well. So how do you translate being from Canada coming down here, the success that you guys are having? Because I've been asked that, this week when I was telling everybody you were coming on, they're like, he's from Canada. You guys don't even have the long fishing season like we do down here. What kind of led up to your success?
Well, hey, and I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way over the years too. But I think all of us have said it before, but you grow up there. We have our season's short, but we have a lot of variety in how we get to fish. We have clear water, dirty water, grass, rocks, rivers. So in that sense, maybe, fairly versatile. We get to do a little bit of everything. For me, the spotted bass act a lot like smallmouths where I live. I live at a place called Lake of the Woods, sort of northwest of the Great Lakes. And, it's a little bit different fishing there than, you look at the Great Lakes stuff and it's pretty much a drop shot and a Ned rig maybe a bit. But where I'm at, it's a lot more, we catch them on top water all year. We can fish shallow, deep, grass. But I think just growing up, and then also where I live, one of the best multi-species lakes in the world. I do a lot of walleye fishing, pike and muskie, some crappie. We got big lake trout. So, I just love to fish and be out there. And early on, I think it served me well that I knew how to use my electronics pretty good. I started fishing the FLW tour in 2013. And at that time, there was guys that were fishing. A lot of the Southern guys would be bank beaters. And I wasn't going to I learned right away that I'm not going to beat those guys, fishing the bank. And so just confidence and a lot of time using the electronics has kind of served me well. Now, I wasn't on top of the forward sonar thing when that kind of came out, and I'm maybe behind a little bit now on all that stuff, but I just spend a lot of time on the water and just try and get better all the time. People ask, one of the questions I get asked the most, I ran into some kids out there today that are going to college next year and fishing, and what do we got to do to get better, to get to the next level? And I just always tell people, spend as much time as you can on the water, and don't just go to the spots you can catch them. Keep looking for bigger and better things, and try new techniques, and don't just fish on the nice days. All that kind of stuff. That's how you're going to get better.
Yeah, well, I've got a ton of questions in the comment section. They're starting to roll in. So
yeah, I see some good ones.
Yeah, they're coming. Wyatt Richards is the first one. Any tricks for the Demiki rig when the bite gets tough?
Yeah, so obviously a big part of my arsenal. I used to throw it before we had the scope, and I a lot using 2D fishing vertical with it, but also casting it and just hoping, and now it's changed a lot. And it's crazy on Gunnersville. That's the number one way to catch them right now out here. And like, you see all these guys are doing it. It's kind of crazy. But
rig on Gunnersville.
yeah. I can hardly get a bite on the big baits that you would think, you can get them fired up a bit and maybe get one on a crankbait or a big swim bait. But like, I catch 10 to 1 with that minnow. Just the Smeltinator jig head and a Z-Man jerk shad. That's all I've been using.
There's that Smeltinator y'all were talking about.
Yeah.
They were talking about the Smeltinator before the show and all that. That's what I got brought up.
Yeah, it's a good jig.
Yeah, there you go. Are you
Say that again?
Are you an Oilers fan? Hockey.
Yeah, I'm kind of pulling for the Oilers. I'm a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and they didn't even make the playoffs this year. So I'm going. We haven't got a Stanley Cup in Canada since '93. It's time. Hockey's our sport up there, and people are crazy for it. So yeah, we get a big hockey game. You guys are lucky that game wasn't tonight, because I would have come up sick probably.
I understand completely, and I wouldn't blame you. Has Gussy ever used fly fishing streamers in his finesse presentations?
No, not really streamers, but obviously like the little marabou jigs we use a lot for smallmouths up north. I've tied my own since I was a kid. Before I started doing this, I've been a fishing guide since I was like 15 years old, and I've guided quite a few people that come up there and fly fish for smallmouths. And I can tell you, they will eat the little popping little bugs, on the surface are deadly. If they see those, they're eating them, but little streamers would work for sure.
I got that. I see. DGP Bass 3, with the majority of the schedule here in the lower 48, how much do you get back home? How much free time do you get with back at the house?
Yeah, so this year I've stayed down a lot more than I ever have. I actually just the way the schedule went. Often, if we have a couple weeks off, I'm going to go home. But I came down at the end of January, and then I was going to go home when that TAA tournament was. We had a couple weeks off there after the Classic, and then when I kind of caught wind of that tournament, my wife gave me the green light. You better go fish it. She knows that I love fishing there. And I stayed down until the middle of May, went home for 3 weeks, and then I'm on another 3-week stretch here, but I'll go home after Smith Lake. It's kind of prime time up there now. Fishing's good. It's 3 months of really nice weather, and then it starts to cool down again pretty quick. But after last week, this week's been pretty nice over here. It's been a little, some clouds, a little bit of breeze. It hasn't been brutal. But I mean, last week, a couple of those days, I on the stage one day at the tournament, I said, I think I'd rather have 6 months of winter than 6 months of this heat down south. But
well, let me ask you, since you mentioned the TAA, which is where I finally got to meet you at, which was a big thing for me. What did you think about that? And would you fish the next one that he throws?
I think I would. I had a good time. That original one, if it wasn't at Lanier, I'm not sure if I would have fished it or not. That it was at Lanier, great tournament lake, that made it easy for me to want to go. But yeah, I'm excited. It was a good event. All the guys had fun. I mean, you were around, the atmosphere, and there was everyone was in a pretty good mood, and it was just a fun to be around all the guys, So I think I'm looking forward to what they kind of have coming. Heard some good things, so we'll see.
I tell you what, one thing that when you told me when I met you, you said, "Hey, you actually listen to us every once in a while."
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I've stopped talking about that since then. I'm like, yes, he listens to us. Did I tell you that?
Yes, you did.
I did. I'm like that. That
That's
made
all
me
you
feel
talk
good.
about.
It is all I talk about. I'm like a fanboy now.
Wow.
So anyway, are we still having problems with the sound? Are we getting that?
There's still some feedback.
Still a little bit of feedback. Well, we're just going to keep powering through right here.
Sorry, boys.
No, it's okay. Absolutely. No, hey, listen, we've had times in the past where we just talked for the first 15 minutes and nobody could hear a word we were saying. So listen, low budget, babe, right here. What time of the year is the best to use a marabou jig for smallmouth in the South? Water temp and season. Thanks, big fan. That's TKR.
Man, smallmouths in the South and smallmouths in the North, I feel like have nothing in common. And I can tell you up there, those like hottest days in the summer, the nicest, calm, hottest days, that's when a lot of smallmouths are going to kind of go up shallow. And that's when that marabou jig shines. It's more of a shallow water bait. I kind of refer to it as like a little after dinner mint. And when they're up, like you can see them cruising, or they're sitting next to a clump of grass or a log or a boulder. If you swim that little jig in front of them, they usually can't pass it up. I just use black ones, and I've probably caught more big smallmouths on those little jigs than any other bait in my life.
Okay, you guys, at any time y'all can jump in here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just listening right now, huh? All right, so your buddy Clint Bartlett wants to know what makes the Smeltinator different than the rest.
So the Smeltinator was designed by a friend of mine at home, Brian Gustafson. Same last name. We're actually not related, but he has a really good tackle shop up there. And we've used that Demiki style bait for a long time, for years. And he just wanted to make a jig head that had a good hook in it. It's got a Gamakatsu 604, so it's a strong, little bit heavier wire hook. And then, just the high quality jig, good eyes and a good bait keeper. But yeah, I've used those things for like 12 or 15 years, and that's all I've ever used for doing that stuff.
There you go. So a name that you're going to recognize, Dawn Beasley, which was Eric Beasley's mother. She's watching tonight. She says, glad you could join us, Gussy. And for those that don't, those of you that don't know, when Eric was on the show, he would not ever shut up. Would not shut up about Gussy. It got annoying, bud. I mean, he talked about you like crazy. One of the things that we wanted to show, I don't know if you remember doing this, but after he passed away, we had that benefit tournament, and we were raffling off stuff. And I got right here in front of me you signed this crankbait. I don't know if you remember doing it.
Yep.
And the gentleman that won it never came and picked it up. So I think he just wanted to donate the money. So we've got this at the shop. Never going to give it away. You'd have to fight me for it right now. But I wanted to just real quick thank you for taking the time, because, you actually communicated with him and kind of mentored him a little bit. So
we met at the boat ramp. Dawn had brought him there in the dark. I mean, it was like not even light out yet. It was a cold, rainy day. And for me, the only reason I went was I was like, I'm going to get a day or two to fish on Lanier. And I every chance I get, I love to get out there. And we both got to the ramp pretty early, and we visited for 10 or 15 minutes and talked fishing. And obviously heartbreaking when I heard the news what happened. And it's life's short. It was a heartbreaker for sure.
Yeah, it was tough. But I will do this. I'll compliment you on the fact that your character, that you took some time to invest in somebody that you didn't have to, and that meeting at that boat ramp, you never know when those opportunities are going to come and how you influence somebody for whatever short time. So that's why you instantly became kind of like a favorite here, just not even for your fishing ability, just the fact that you took the time, to spend it with a young man. So always kudos to you for that. That's a big character thing.
No, I was the same as Eric was when I was his age. I mean, we have some good tournaments up where I live in the summer, and like the Linder clan, Al Linder would come and fish several of these our bigger tournaments in the summer, and quite a few pro anglers over the years. Guido Hibden and Dion Hibden came up there. And I mean, I was the same. If I got a chance to talk to those guys, and they were all nice to me, I mean, it was awesome. It made my day. So, I do appreciate like that I get to do what I'm doing every day. And, I'm never gonna be frustrated or not want to talk fishing with people. That's for sure.
That's awesome. But like, at least if nothing else tonight, I want to take the time in front of God and everybody to say thank you.
Yeah,
for that, because
no,
that kid
all
meant a
good.
lot to me, and that makes you mean a lot to me for doing that. So that's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the questions here. Why can't Smallies survive in Lanier like they do in, hell, I don't know how to even say that. Is it
Pavasi.
what?
Havasu.
Okay,
Havasu.
so wait a
Lake
second. You said
Havasu.
Havasu, and he says Havasu.
It's
What is
Havasu.
it? What is it?
Havasu.
Havasu? All right, so why can't Smalley survive in Lanier like they do in Havasu, Gussy?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like they do awesome there. Like they like clear water. There's plenty of food for them. They'll get out and chase bait around as much as anything else. I don't know. Has anyone tried putting them in there before? I wouldn't
don't
want to
know.
mess
You know, you're
up
supposed-
that place is such a special. I mean, I've been all over the country, and there is nowhere. I mean, Hartwell has some decent spots in it, and other lakes do, but like nowhere in the country, like for big tournament lakes, have spotted bass like you guys do at Lanier. Like,
Well, why do you
nowhere
think the
does.
pros don't come here as often?
Like for the tournaments, I mean,
Yeah.
a big function of that is just the community's got to pay Bassmaster or whoever to have the events, I think, and to come there. And it's
not the lake, it's us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I think if you pulled like the whole Elite Series, if everyone got to put like 5 lakes they wanted to go to, Lanier would be at the top of that list. I guarantee. I mean, a good chunk of that field of those guys have probably never fished there, but I think anyone that's actually fished there, because you can kind of fish, like even if you like to fish shallow or you can kind of fish however you want there, and you're going to be able, there's fish everywhere out there, like it's just and it's big. It's just a good lake to have tournaments on. And
we'd love to see you guys come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like every year, that's my, please let Lanier be on the schedule, but
damn it, we need to do something about that.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
So what time of the year do you like to fish Lanier? If you were to fish any time of the year, what would be the year?
Well, I've only been there in the winter, so I enjoy the winter fishing, and that's probably for fishing offshore and deep. It suits my style, but I hear all the stories about how good the topwater fishing is all summer and into the fall, and I'd be happy to be out there anytime, but yeah, I've been there a lot in February and March, and a bit in April as well.
Yeah, well, wintertime's when the fat girls come out to play.
Yeah.
So if we're being honest, that's when the fat girls get caught.
Boat traffic isn't bad in the
and boat traffic is not bad.
Yeah, no, it's
city
usually never that bad. And I hear all the stories of like what a nightmare it is now, but yeah.
Awful. It's awful. You get all them people from Atlanta up here renting pontoons and then your cabin cruisers and all that.
They don't know how to drive.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I figured you would say winter. I didn't know, but when he asked that question, I said he's going to say wintertime. So makes sense.
I like fishing when I got to put some long underwear on and like it's kind of cold and everyone wears gloves. I'm not going to wear gloves, but I love it when bass fishing when it's cold.
So what you need to do though, because I heard you're a big time hunter as well.
Yeah.
And I realize your deer up there are a lot bigger, but you need to come down here in the wintertime and hunt with us a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
I can put you on some deer.
Okay.
I can put you on some. They might not be what you're used to chasing, but it'd be fun. We could do that. We could go hunting in the morning, fishing during the middle of the day, and hunting in the evening.
Yep.
So we'll set that up.
Plan.
Are you catching your fish on Guntersville in the river or in the pockets right now?
All on the main river channel. Just I haven't even fished any grass, but I know there's quite a few of the elite guys are here this week, just killing the week. And I know Tyler Rivette and Corey Johnston, I know they caught a bunch flipping and frogging the other day. Carl Jacobson and Swindle were out. They caught a bunch frogging yesterday. But I'm just kind of geared up for ledge fishing offshore. And I've found a lot of fish, anywhere from 10 foot stuff down to one spot. I caught some in like 30 feet, but for the most part, that's standard 16 to 20 feet is kind of like where I found most of the fish.
Okay. All right. So Jonathan McCleroy, I'm terrible with names. McElroy. Listen, I do the best I can. Has Gussy or any other pro ever fished Lake Allatoona? Have you ever been on Allatoona?
No. So before the TAA, JJ and I went and fished several of the lakes up in North Georgia, and I haven't been on Allatoona yet. No. But
Okay,
all
well,
those lakes are awesome. Like I love. If I was gonna move down here, like that's the part of that your neck of the woods is where I'd want to be for sure, from a fishing standpoint.
okay, that's awesome. No,
And
now
just
I got to
you know,
do something.
have a lot of friends in the area just that I've met from being around there as much as I have, and yeah, it's I just enjoy the fishing around there.
You think I can pull this off?
Sure you can.
All right, listen, I need you to do something for me.
Okay,
I just need you to say 2 words.
okay,
Say yum yum for me.
yum yum.
There we go. That's all I need. I'll explain to you what that means after the show. Because Clint Bartlett said, what is the go-to yum yum lake in the off season? But what's your favorite lake in the off season?
Well, I can't wait to go home after we get done next week because our season's short up there. But Lake of the Woods, where I live, in Rainy Lake, if anybody wants to like go on a getaway in the summertime, the smallmouth fishing's awesome up there. We don't have the giants like on the Great Lakes, but they're big, massive lakes. They're mapped well, and there's Lake of the Woods where I live has 14,000 islands on it. So you can always hide out, and like you're never going to get weathered out. You could catch smallmouths on top water from the middle of May to pretty much the end of September, and can really catch fish however you want. But we have some good tournaments up there, July through September, almost every weekend, and they're all like community run events, no circuits or anything, but they're good tournaments. $400 to $800 entry fees. So you're, and 60 to 150 boats. So you get to fish for some money, and the competition's good. It's I love being up there in the summertime.
That's awesome. All right. So Spot Hunter 13 wants to know St. Lawrence River or Lake Champlain?
If you want a giant, you go to the river or Lake Ontario. Champlain, you're not going to catch them as big, but the numbers are probably better there. So it depends what you want to do.
Okay, easy enough.
Yeah, Champlain's kind of cool because you can mix in the top water jerk baits. There's some largemouth. You can kind of do it a little bit of everything there. When we were there last year, I mean, it was a full offshore. Put your boat over 40 to 100 feet of water, and there's just schools of smallmouth swimming around out there chasing bait. It was unbelievable.
So you use a flogger?
I have one. I've never actually caught a fish with it before.
I was just wondering. Because the first time I saw a picture that looked like a guy had a traffic cone out there, and I was like,
yeah,
what in the hell is this? So you don't utilize that at all. You just use your electronics?
Yeah, but it's for when they're on beds, right? And like one year we fished an FLW event, and that was before I even knew what it was, probably 2015 or 16. And it was a bed tournament there. Like if you're there in June, there's going to be a lot of spawning going on. But like the last few years, we've been up there in August, so it's all done by then. And
Okay, yeah.
But if they're on beds, I mean, like you see the Johnsons use it all the time. A lot of those guys are using it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like it would. I'm not coordinated enough to do it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
David Marin, I hope I said that right. I'm considering a new boat.
Yeah.
What do you like or dislike about fishing out of an aluminum boat? Now you fish out of a Lund, right?
Yep. It's an aluminum, and I fished out of one of my whole career. I kind of live in Lund country and grew up with that brand of boat. As far as aluminum goes, I think they're kind of they're a little bit more premium, well built, and I love my boat. It's great. Like I said, I do a lot of multi-species fishing during this, over the course of the year as well. So I can kind of do a little bit of everything, do a little bit of guiding with it. Disadvantage, it's a little bit slower. That's really all you got. But it's a big, heavy boat. If it's rough, I mean, I can comfortably kind of go wherever. I can tell you all the marshals and camera guys love going in my boat. So it's but as far as fishing out of it, I mean, it's all big deck and tons of storage, but there's not really any disadvantages to it. And
okay, perfect.
Yeah. If you're on the stump lakes, I mean, you're not going to hurt it bumping into stumps, right? And that sort of thing.
You ain't got to worry about peeling off the gel coat, do we, Tim? With some concrete on a lake here recently where he peeled off a slight section of a gel coat. Now, I see a comment from DGP Bass 3, and I was going to bring this up at some point. Have you heard about the new tournament on Gunnersville in October?
Yeah, I heard about it yesterday, actually, like last night, and I'm still not really clear how you get into it or what you got to pay to sign up, or it's kind of vague. I don't know. I'm not that interested.
Well, that was my question, because we saw it yesterday too.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had somebody email me and say, "Hey, ask Gussy about it if you guys knew about it beforehand or anything like
Yeah,
that."
no.
And yeah, and then, but in reading it, I was like, we've been sitting here talking like, do you qualify for it? How do you even get into it? So it seemed real convoluted to us.
Yeah, it seemed like you gotta, I don't know if you got to be the top finisher in one of those qualifying events or a top 10, or it doesn't really say, but there's, if you look on there, there's a number of circuits. Those events are qualifiers for it, but it also doesn't say how you sign up or how much it costs. But I mean, there's like some serious money there. Like, I like to see that.
Yeah, no, the money thing.
That's
which
awesome.
Which brings me to it brings me to this, because I had Patrick Walters and Drew Cook and all them on a couple weeks ago, and I asked them if there was one thing they could change about professional bass fishing, what would it be? And almost unanimously, all of them went the money, the payouts, because I didn't realize that you guys have been fishing for $100,000 or whatever for like 20, 30 years now.
Yeah. And I mean,
so
like, I've got some friends that like made it to the NHL, and like it's incomprehensible the money those, and any of the other pro sports make compared to, and it's probably harder to make the Elite Series than to make Major League Baseball or NBA or NHL. Like, it's, there's 100 of us only, so like,
right.
It is what it is. I really like. I don't have any better job options. Like, I'm doing fine. It's all been working out pretty good for me. So like, I'm not going to get rich, but like, I'm paying the bills and I'm happy, and so you're not going to hear a lot of crybabying from me.
Hey, I understand. That was one thing, Jason, when I was working with Jason Johnson, that we talked about a lot, was everybody thinks, especially somebody of your caliber as an angler, they think it's a glory thing and that you guys are like shacked up in the nicest of hotels and room service. They don't realize that behind the scenes, a lot of guys are living out of their trucks, and the amount of money you guys have to fork out. So maybe, kind of for somebody that's watching, as you were coming up through the ranks, a little bit about that experience that you,
like the traveling and time away from home, that part of it's definitely not that glamorous. You see all the social media, everybody puts all the highlights on that and what you see, but like last week on my way to Wheeler, my truck broke down. Like, I got a new truck just before Christmas, and truck broke down like 3.5 hours away, small town, and I don't know, I was somewhere like a few hours south of St. Louis, but I was 3.5 hours from Wheeler on a Sunday afternoon. We started practice Monday, so had to get a tow truck, tow it to a Ford dealership, and of course they're not open on Sunday, so I had to wait till Monday morning. Luckily, they got after it, and my fuel line had like disconnected from the fuel filter somehow, and about 11 o'clock, they got me back up and running. When I called my dad when I got back to this hotel Sunday night, told him what happened, and he's like, "I'm coming. Make sure you get there." And I'm like, "No, I'll figure it out." Like, he goes, "Well, what if it's not going to get fixed?" And at the time, I didn't think it was going to get fixed that easy. Like, it went into limp mode, and then there's diesel coming out below the engine, and I'm like, something's no good on this thing, But like, that just like, stuff breaks, everything's expensive, and but the highs are high when you win and you catch them. Like, that's the greatest feeling ever. And then when you finished in 100th, it sucks, like, the lows are low. It's kind of crazy like that. But the best thing like I said, to tell, like, if you want to make it, like, obviously at some point sponsorship and help is important. If you're especially like, I'm a regular guy, I had a friend that I guided a few times from Minnesota that was able to kind of help me out, had the means to help me out when I got started, or I may never have done it, just because it's a big step.
But it's kind of like that Facebook world, everybody sees the highs, like you mentioned, the highs. That's all they see.
Yeah.
And they see you guys holding up a check, and it was kind of interesting. They're like, okay, you hold up $100,000 check, but after you start deducting your entry fee, the cost, and all that, it's not what is presented all the time.
No. Yeah, and then you got to, when you actually have to start fishing against like the Johnstons and Patrick Walters and Brian Thrift and like I could just name 100. When you actually have to fish against these guys that are the best, it's if you don't catch them and do your job, they are going to take your money, and it's hard. It's crazy how much harder it's gotten in the last like 3 or 4 years. Just like from a competitiveness and how good all these young guys are that are coming in. I know there's some really good young guys from your neck of the woods that are going to be fishing on the Elite Series probably in the next year or the next couple of years, and like,
oh yeah,
it's it keeps getting harder and harder every year. So like, and then like the sponsorship stuff, I think a misconception people have too is like, I made the Elite Series, like people are going to start giving me, I'm going to get, and they're going to give me everything. And the reality is like most of these companies, their budgets are already maxed out and tapped, and it's hard to, like, I'm lucky I've sort of done this fishing stuff my whole life. And when I was like 15 years old, I was writing letters to Shimano or Rapala or some of these tackle companies, and I got a relationship. I got a fishing rod and a couple hats, and then the next year maybe I got 2 fishing rods and a couple hats, and I got my foot in the door early with a lot of these companies, and that's kind of served me well. And then also being from Canada, dealing with the Canadian sides of some of the companies too, I'm segregated a little bit, but it's that part of it's hard. I know like Jason, just to use him as an example, like amazing fisherman, like one of the best guys I've ever been in the boat with, really good stick, and like he just was he had a hard time getting help, and I know that was like, it was hard for him. You have a couple bad tournaments and like, hey, I need to cash a check, and like I've been there too, at the next event, and then like you're not having fun, and then you're just not going to fish as good, and I've seen a lot of guys kind of go for it, put it all on the visa for a year or two, and like some guys make it, but like if you can make it through the first few years, it does get easier. But it's tough starting out and like cracking it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear the perspective. You mentioned the Johnston brothers several times, your fellow Canadians.
Yeah.
So TKR wants to know, which Johnston brother would you want on your side in a bar fight? One seems a little quieter than the other. And Chris is the one that's, I would say, he's not the quiet one.
Yeah, you don't want him. He'd be the guy sneaking out the back door. Corey would have your back though. Yeah, you'd want Corey on your side.
So you want the quiet one right there. So pleasure meeting them guys too at the TAA. That's pretty interesting. If you had only one choice of lure to trophy hunt for a 10-pounder in a trophy lake, what are you going with?
Ooh, that's hard because it's like Florida, I'm just gonna flip and punch. But like if I was at Lake Fork, I'd probably go with like a big swim bait. So it just depends on the fishery, kind of. But yeah.
Let's say a smallmouth up there.
Yeah.
What is, if I want to go catch a trophy smallmouth? What are you gonna throw? This Meltonator or whatever.
Yeah, no, the smallmouths, big smallmouths love little baits. So it's not like necessarily like largemouths where you're going to throw a big bait. I've caught more big ones, honestly, on that little hair jig than anything. My biggest is a 760 from Lake Michigan, and that was on a marabou jig. I caught a 7-pounder practicing at the St. Lawrence last year, and that was on a Smeltonator with a little 3.5-inch jerk shad on it, a little brown one, like a goby looking one. But I've caught lots of big ones on a Ned rig. I've caught lots of big ones on a topwater. I mean, it just depends. But smallmouths are funny, like especially the Great Lakes is where you've got to go if you want to catch like a giant, pretty much. And like if you go there for a week, you're gonna catch some giants whatever lake you go to. You're not usually like the small baits are just going to be the best up there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so my buddy Paul Coonan wants to know, as you got more serious about fishing, did you have an aha moment that let you kind of, I can fish with anybody. I can compete with whoever is out there. Did you have that moment?
Yeah, I mean, so my first year in 2012, they had FLW at the time had a four tournament circuit called the FLW Tour Opens, and they were $4,000 entry fees, same as what the tour was at that time. And it was four tournaments, and anybody could sign up for them basically. And then the full FLW tour was 6 tournaments. But I fished those 4 my first year, and I actually cashed a check at all 4 tournaments. And I'm like, oh, this is an easy way to make money. The very first one at Okeechobee, in those days, the top 20 got to fish day 3. And I actually made the top 20, and I kind of sucked on the last day. I think I ended up finishing 20th, but like I got a check for $12,000 at that tournament. And I'm like, that was the biggest check I'd ever won at that time, and I think but then the next year I fished the full FLW tour against like the best guys like a much stronger field. And I think I cashed maybe in 3 out of the 6. But in those earlier years, I did good enough to kind of hang in there and keep doing it. Yeah, I don't know. I've learned a lot of hard lessons, from the shad spawn stuff to pulling up 100 yards short of the sweet spot, and then the next guy pulls up to the sweet spot. Like just lots of things you learn as you go. And but that's for me. It's I just, like I said, I like to fish a lot, and that's how I kind of get better and stay sharp.
That makes sense. Rob's got a question for you.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate to fish 3 out of the 5 Great Lakes. Lake Michigan has been my favorite one so far. So out of all the Great Lakes, which one is your favorite one? And what areas of the Great Lakes that you feel like it's the true best?
Yeah, so I've probably spent the least amount of time on Erie. I've been out there a couple times. Spent the most time on Lake Michigan at Sturgeon Bay. I went and fished that Sturgeon Bay Open for years. But I think at St. Clair, I fished a lot of tournaments there. But I think Lake Ontario, that east end of Lake Ontario, you're around the mouth of the St. Lawrence River just the size of the fish and how many there are out there. But the weather protects them, like there's some weeks you can probably only get out there and fish in 1 or 2 days. It's big water, and the wind takes the fun out of that any of those lakes real quick. But if the weather's nice, it's so fun fishing out there. The water's beautiful, and there's a lot of fish. But I don't know. I'd say Lake Ontario, but I'm happy to go to any of those lakes anytime. What's your favorite one?
When I went up there, after we fished Saginaw Bay a couple years ago at MPFL, I went to Traverse City and Traverse Bay.
Yeah.
And I went to Little Traverse Bay, and that was the first time I've ever got the chance to do the spawning. And it was weird because they weren't spawning during our tournament, but they were spawning way up there, up north. And the water temperature was like 15-degree difference. And I figured it's because of the waters from the north was coming down, and they were more attuned to be spawning at that time. But that was so much fun. I mean, it was 4 hours of time that I got to fish. It was the most blast I ever had.
Yeah, no, it's fun and it's so visual too. Like you can see them a lot, from maybe once you get into August, you're fishing deeper. But if you're up there like anytime in June or July, and the weather's nice, it's sunny, there's going to be big ones up shallow, and it's pretty special. If people haven't done it, like you want to go on a getaway this summer, I'd fully go up there and have some fun.
Yeah, we spent last September up on Lake Michigan filming. I had no idea what clear water was until we got up there. Like the clearest water in Georgia is like muddy in Michigan. It was insane. I mean, seriously, we were going over some rocks, and I thought the boat was going to hit it. And the guy goes, "Oh, we're in 25 foot. You know, those rocks are 25 foot down." I was like, because of the zebra mussels or something like that.
Yeah, no,
But,
that's what it is. Yep.
I think Northern Michigan, if I didn't have any ties to Georgia, like a family and all that, and I was a single man, I could live in Northern Michigan. You can hunt up there. You can do all kinds of fishing. Traverse City Distillery is really good.
Oh, it is. It was so much fun. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I like about Michigan is that like it's, you don't get to attack it all year long like you do down here in Lanier or Florida and stuff. So you get that season, but I feel like it's the most unpressured fish. Their fish are just bite on anything up there. It's just crazy how good the fishing truly is. Like until you go up there and witness it, I mean, you can't. You got to go up there and figure it out.
Yeah. But you guys are crazier than hell getting out there and all them waves when them waves get up on them big lakes.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. Hey, you guys get big waves from all the wakeboard boats on Lanier too.
Yeah, no, but listen, we get it, but that's a whole different thing. Sometimes watching some of you pros up there and you're out of camera when you're between the waves and all that. I don't even know how you guys stand up.
I've been out there and been like 50 yards from another boat, and the waves have been so big that like when you go down in them, you can't even see the other boat like 50 yards from you.
That's what I'm saying. It's insane.
Yeah.
I actually, the first night we were filming, I got seasick and was puking off the side of the boat. So you guys can see that in season 2 of the Real American Road Trip if you want to watch me get sick. Now, guys, hey, listen, we're going to let Gussy wet his whistle for a second because we're getting ready to do the question of the night for an Evolve rod sleeve. Okay. So Kevin has the impossible question, he says. You say it's pretty tough.
2 rod sleeves. I'll buy one.
You'll buy one?
And you can give it away if they can get this answer.
If you get this tonight, you get 2 Evolve rod sleeves. All right. Now listen, again, this question is from Kevin Thornton. It is not from us. So this is Kevin off the back of the boat. Ain't that what we were going to name it, Tim?
Yeah, the back of the boat question of the week, I guess.
The back of the boat
is this question.
And I don't know the answer, so Kevin's going to have to watch.
Hold on real quick. Put it back on Gussy. Is he there? Okay, Gussy.
Is this question?
You ever go
for
number
me?
2 off your boat? Yeah, no. This is a question. This is not the question of the week. It's the one I got to ask you.
Okay.
If you got to go to the bathroom off the boat, off the back of the boat, do you strip down totally naked?
No.
Thank you. Kevin here strips down totally naked to go off the back of the boat. I do. I just don't understand it. I just want to know. That's just a question. That's for me. All right.
Like shirt too?
See, he takes his shirt off.
Even the shirt.
35 degrees.
What about the backsplash?
He thinks he's going to get backsplash on his shirt. So we got this 70-year-old man buck ass naked off the back of the boat. I just want to know if it was a common thing or if it was just Kevin.
Yeah, he's special.
Listen,
You
Jeff,
were talking to my wife.
Listen, Jeff Gustafson said you're special.
I hear him.
You have arrived right there. All right, here's the question for 2 Evolve rod sleeves tonight. Shoot it.
All right, this week's question. There are 2 longtime tournament fishermen that have won over $1.2 million since 1997. They have an unusual arrangement. What is the arrangement? Who are they and where are they from? And I'll read it again. There are 2 longtime tournament fishermen that have won over $1.2 million since 1997. They have an unusual arrangement. What is the arrangement? Who are they and where are they from?
All right, so there you guys go. I don't know the answer to that question.
Boyd
Duckett,
Rob's in deep thought. Look at him.
What Gussy, do you
I
know
don't
the
understand
answer?
it.
Does Gussy know the answer? This is the kind of questions he asks.
It's a riddle.
It's a riddle. So you guys can, again, go ahead.
Boyd Duckett and Jacob Wheeler.
I'll give him a clue. You're wrong. The clue is they are not pro tournament fishermen.
So these guys have won $1.2 million and are not pros. So you guys can chew on that for the rest of the episode because ain't nobody going to get that tonight. So I think your money's safe.
It's a tough question.
It is a tough question right there. So let's see. I'm checking for questions real quick right there. That's an interesting comment. Chris and Corey split money. Do you know about that arrangement?
Yeah, no, they all their sponsorship and winnings all go into, they have a business, and that's how they roll it as a business.
Okay.
And yeah, they
That's-
share all their info, and they got a pretty good program.
For sure. Now, let me ask you this, because I know you're big on electronics.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just knock out the simple question, and then we'll talk about more about that. But has it gone too far?
I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I've decided, like, you're not going to hear me complaining about it. I got to just get good with everything that we can use. But
Yeah.
I do, like, the part I hate the most is, like, I don't want kids that, because everything's expensive, right? And, like, not everybody's parents can buy them 5 live scopes for their boat, right? So, like, I don't want kids to not get into tournament fishing because thinking they can't compete if they don't have, like, all the screens and electronics on their boat. Like, that's the only part I kind of hate.
Right.
Where 10 years ago, I mean, you know, maybe you needed a GPS, but, like, you could go fishing with a GPS and 2D sonar, and everyone
I
could
hate the
compete, right?
discussion. It's just so, and like you mentioned, clickbait, with some other people and all that. It's gotten to the point now where it's ridiculous. Landry Hutchins says, needs some North Texas DFW fishing advice from you North Georgia guys. Well, hell, he ain't gonna get it from me. So do you have any North Texas fishing advice for Landry there, Gussy?
I mean, are we talking June for, like, fishing there right now? Probably.
Let's go right now.
Yeah, you're gonna get off the bank, get offshore, and pumps and points, the ends of points, just structure. They school up, and now's, like, prime time to be. I've been to Lake Fork in June, and it's phenomenal. You know, big crankbait, swim baits, football jig, big worm. That's all you need.
Okay, so he had that question right there. So back to the electronics. How has electronics changed the way you fished?
Well, I mean, like, I don't know how, like, okay, so a lot of the fans say they don't like to watch guys with their hood on and staring at their screen. But, like, I don't care how people catch them. Like, I just want to see more fish get caught, bigger fish get caught. And that is certainly happening. Like, the average weights to make cuts and win all these tournaments is, like, it's gone up significantly in the last couple of years. And like, it makes you way more efficient. I mean, you can pull up to a place and, like, figure out real quick if there's fish there or not, and or see if there's fish there or not, and then, if not, you carry on. You're not sitting there, soaking a bait and there's no fish there. Like, that part of it's fun. It's fun watching how fish interact with your bait. Like, there's no question about that. So yeah, but, like, I think where a lot of the, like, people that have been doing it for a long time are struggling a little bit is it's hard to, like, fully just commit to, like, staring at that thing all day. Where a lot of the lakes we go to, you're, like, dumb if you take your eyes off it. Lanier being one of them, probably. But, like, when we were at Lake Fork this year, like, mostly all the rookies crushed them, and these guys are, like, fully committed to it. Where, like, I like to throw a swim jig, and there was a few fish starting to make beds, and you could get some bites on a frog. Like, it's hard to, like, not go and do that for a few hours too, and try and mix in other stuff. And I think that's a big mistake in a lot of these places. Like, just, you should just be probably staring at the screen the whole day.
But that argument about staring at people's backsides, if we're being honest, when you watch any tournament, the way the camera boat's set up anyway, we're looking at your ass anyway.
Yeah.
If we're being
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I think the problem
honest.
is, like, the crybabies are the loudest, right? So that's what you hear. But, like,
The keyboard warriors.
The keyboard, everybody's brave behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to see how the Japanese guys are, like, working their minnow or like, tricking these fish into biting. Like, they're way better at it than everybody else. Like, I want to see how they're figuring out how to get these fish to bite. And, like, you guys everybody knows. I mean, you can go out on I had no less than like 200 bass every day follow my Demikis and my minnow baits, and like it's speeding them up and twitching them and like figuring out how to trigger them to bite, and like it's fun. But it's also like can be really frustrating too. It's like just because you see them on there doesn't mean they're going in your boat, you know?
Exactly. Trust me, I know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
Better than anybody. Rob's got a question for you.
So the forward-facing question, I used to fish. I'm from Florida, so I never really had electronics. Like I never really even had a GPS. I just Lake Okeechobee was my home lake. I threw a frog. I flipped. That was my thing. Obviously, when I joined the MPFL, even before that, when I got electronics, I started learning it. And now living up here for the last 3 years, I don't know if I can. I mean, if they banned it, I mean, I'll be okay and fish the way I used to fish back in the day. But like now I'm so educated with it and what I see now, like would you hate if they end up banning it now that we've gotten so used to it?
Yeah, because it's fun, right? Like it's still fun to use. Maybe it would make my results better because like I went to Lanier and fished offshore with 2D back in that tournament, and like I still loved it. Like I caught more fish. Like I'd fished there for a few days in January, right when I first got my boat rigged, and like it seemed like if you got near them, there was no dropping on them. Like they didn't want any part of, even in 30, 40 feet of water, being under your boat. Whereas like when I just had the 2D on for that TAA tournament, I caught probably half my fish right under the boat. Like I'd see them on the screen, I'd drop my bait down and they'd follow it down and bite it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I have no, like I said earlier, no better job options. So like whatever the rules are, I'm going to go get after it. And I just love fishing. So
if they took it away, you'd be okay with it? Or would you be like, damn, man, I really will like it? Cause now we're so used to it.
Yeah,
I would
hate
be.
it.
I would
Personally.
be. I'd hate it because, and then, everyone else on the lake would have it and they'd just be crushing you.
All right, Kevin's got to address the crowd for a second about the question real quick.
Yeah.
All right. The question had 3 parts. One of the answers that have come in from one person has 2 of the answers. They did not provide the 3rd answer. Where are they from?
Okay, so that's what you need to do.
Yeah, because
All right.
got 2 of them.
You got 2 of them. So guys, listen, 3-part question. You got to get all 3 of them right there. So there was a question for Gussy. Have you ever fished Carter's Lake in Georgia?
No, I have fished.
No.
Let's see, Burton.
Yeah, you fished up here.
What's the other one?
Chatoog.
Awesome time out there. I enjoyed that. And I fished one other one too.
There's Blue Ridge, Notley, Burton
and Blue Ridge I've been on. Yeah. So
okay, got a question. What's your opinion about forward facing sonar at night?
I've gone over to Australia the last 2 years and fished these barramundi tournaments with Carl, and you fish at night over there. But like up in Canada, it's light out right now till 11 at night, and it gets light out at 4 in the morning. So it's
that's right.
I never fished at night growing up ever. Like I fished a night tournament with a friend on Chickamauga or Nickajack. That's the only time I've ever bass fished at night. One night in my life.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But I do get what he's talking about because of the location in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all get those weird
our days are so long that you don't, and it's not like our summer weather is like, most days it's in the 70s. We'll get some few days in the 80s and 90s, but like it's nice. It's just nice weather. So you want to be out there during the day. But yeah, and then I'm just not down in the south usually that much in the summer months. So yeah. Not the night guy.
The night guy. Okay, listen, that's fair enough right there. What is the biggest mistake you see anglers make? And we're talking to average, everyday guys like myself. What's the biggest mistake you see them make?
So the first thing that comes to mind, I would say is just not doing a lot of the like simple things right. Being quiet in the boat, making good casts. Like I've got to fish with a lot of these guys. Like I travel with Jason Christie, fished with him a few times, Seth Fider. Um, a lot of these, they don't have secret lures. It's not that. It's just they do all the little things really good. They're and just be quiet in the boat. Like that's so important that you make noise in your boat and like the fish know you're there. If the fish know you're there, they're going to be way harder to catch. But make good casts.
Details.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like growing up in Okeechobee, like I traveled with Brandon McMillan for a few years, and like the one thing I'd always learned from him is like your bait better not make a splash when you like dump it in a reed head. Just little simple things, and that's a lot of it.
It's true.
Yeah.
With Okeechobee, because it's so shallow, they can hear the little ripple or anything, especially with the trolling motor too. It's you spin a trolling motor. I've had many times at Okeechobee where I've hit the trolling motor on high and a bass jumps in the boat. No
Well,
lie.
hell, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But Michael Temples just had a comment. He just said something about being quiet in the boat. How big is that? I guess just go back over. Evidently, that's very important to you.
Yeah, and I think, especially if you're at a shallow place or fishing anywhere in Florida, but even, just don't bang the lids on your compartments and don't be jumping around. I mean, I like to, when I'm pre-fishing, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's what I'll listen to your show. I got a handful of fishing shows that I listen to, but like in the tournament days, there's no noises or music or anything like that. No.
I got you. That makes sense. Have you ever fished zig jigs?
No, I never have. Should I be?
Do you even know what a zig? Do you know what a zig jig is?
No.
I don't either.
No, but we got to address the question.
Okay, we got to address the question. This is what happens when he goes like super hard on this. So address it one more time.
There is one gentleman that has provided all the answers, but he has not provided them all together. They need to be all three on one screen.
Boy, he's being a hard ass tonight.
Yeah, tight ship.
Tight ship.
You wanted a question?
I wanted a question, but like Gussy's over there going like,
that person knows who I'm talking about.
Okay, so just put all three of them together.
That person should have figured it out about now.
Who is it?
Got it. Carlton Hudson.
Carlton Hudson. So the answer to the question, I don't even remember what the hell the question was. We answered so long. Is David Wright and Jeff Coble split their winnings whether the other fishes or not?
In other words, one can fish a tournament, the other not fish it because he's doing something else. And if that guy cashes a check, he still splits it with them. And they're from North Carolina.
What the hell they do that for?
Because they're buddies.
They must love each other.
Okay, all right. So there you go. So
Jeff Coble, he works for Phoenix Boats, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have our expert in the back said yes.
Yes. I had him as a marshal with me a few years ago at the St. Lawrence River. He spends some time up there every summer, and awesome guy. Awesome guy. And he's made the Bassmaster Classic a few times. Legit fisherman for sure.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So that Philip said we're back talking about that zig jig. It's a marabou style jig with an offset head design that causes the jig to fall in a zigzag pattern. Deadly on trout and smallies down here. They're from Arkansas. So now we all know what a zig jig is.
Cool.
Let me ask you about this youth movement. I know you mentioned some of the guys from North Georgia that will be there. We're talking the Emils and the Paul Marks and those kind of guys. But you got a couple young guys on the elites right now that are making some noise. And it seems when we're watching social media, it's kind of like the Caitlin, I can't even say her name, Caitlin Clark kind of thing. You're either on their side or you're against it or whatever. As an angler that fishes with them, is that something you like seeing, or do you have some opinions? Are they brats, or what's going on with all this?
Well, I don't know. I obviously very impressive what all those guys are doing. I think, for me, I really, and I think most of the guys, I fully appreciate and feel lucky that I get to do what I'm doing, and I have all the respect in the world for all the rules and to me, everything's like kind of pretty black and white. And, you just hope that they do things the right way and respect the other anglers. And, I don't know. It's hard because
I know what you're talking about
you
there.
hear stuff and like, you don't really know if it's true. So like, I'm not going to be the one to spread rumors. And you just hope that if they're doing stuff that's shady, then hopefully Bassmaster deals with it. And if they're not, then, but like, just whenever these guys do well and are kicking butt, then there's always going to be people that are jealous and, whatever. So it is what it is. The one rule that has to change, and we've all been kind of like screaming for it to change, is if you're fishing the opens to try to qualify for the elites, our elite series schedule will come out before the opens are done. Those guys aren't qualified for the elite series yet, but they know the schedule and they're technically able to get info for a lot of the lakes. Because like once our schedule comes out, we're not allowed any info on any of those lakes. And like, I think most guys would never even consider it. I don't want to do that. Like I get no bigger rush than figuring something out. And I love pre-fishing. And like, the one thing that I think has been happening is these guys they know they're going to qualify and they just start like collecting a lot of info, and that's wrong. It's gray, but they didn't break the rules. So, but that's going to change.
It's a gray area.
Next year. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I'm a big baseball fan, and if you piss somebody off, the pitcher's going to beam you. Is there some kind of like unwritten rules within you guys can kind of self-police a little bit, or do you just go by the books and just let the officials deal with it? I'm just curious as to the culture of it. I'm being honest. Like, do you guys ever just like pull little Johnny aside and say, "Hey, listen, that crap ain't working here"?
They'd probably tell their parents. Like, I don't know.
Oh, my bad. That's
I wish there was. Like, I kind of do, but you know how it is. It just, you can't do that today, right? Like,
and I feel like if you go ahead and do that, then you're gonna get called out and everything, and it's gonna look bad on your part and your brand. It's all about branding. We all have our own each other brands. We don't want to be that asshole. You know what I mean? And like if we were to go step aside, that one kid and tell him, step it up, and we just don't want to look at the bad. We don't want to be presented to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't like. If no one likes you, like, it's not going to be a lot of, like, for me, like, that's part of why I loved getting to do this, is like, I'm friends with almost all the other anglers, and like, we get along and it's a good group. And if nobody likes you because you're, like doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, like, I don't know, it just doesn't, like, to me, that it would take the fun out of it. Like, I wouldn't really enjoy getting to do it, so.
If somebody's doing something they shouldn't be doing and you don't bring it to the attention of the officials, you can be disqualified as well, can you not?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But I think
where's the bad guy piece come in?
Well, here's my take, and I can say this because it's my show, and nobody's going to take anything from me. But let's just take the Swindle and McKinney, because I mean that's what the hell started this. Swindle, I think, would have a huge if he just popped him in the mouth.
Yeah.
Kind of like Kyle Busch. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just walk him aside and just like off screen, off camera, and just popped him. If that was a legit situation.
But it's not like that anymore, because then if that happens, I'm going to sue him. Like, we became so soft in this world. Well, if that was like 20 years ago, I probably would have popped him too. But I can't do that now, because there's, you get in trouble, and you don't want to get in trouble because you don't want to ruin your brand that you worked so hard to get there.
I get that. I get that. But somebody of a certain level, take any baseball team. Just take Chipper Jones when he's at his highest. And I don't know. You watch baseball? I know you're from Canada. I'm not talking foreign to you or nothing like that.
No.
Or a hockey guy. Josh is a hockey fan. You take a guy that's been in the league, established 17 years, got X amount of Stanley Cups and whatever, and you get this rookie coming up. You don't think in the locker room that there is some adjusting going on?
Absolutely.
I mean, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I think it's just different because we're not like really at that level where I wish you could, because that would probably, he wouldn't be
Solve it.
limping off to G-Man again if he got punched in the mouth. But he's also probably would go tell his mom, and
Yeah,
maybe
and then his mom will go
G-Man
ahead
would
and
be
get
in
an
trouble.
attorney, and
So,
then he gets sued. And
Yeah,
it's
but
just-
but it would be so great. You
Yeah.
guys want viewers? Let you guys duke it out a little bit every once in a while, like hockey rules.
yeah,
Jump in the boat with the other guy first. Once you fall down,
yeah.
I know you guys think I'm crazy. I'm just trying to add
no,
some
you're not
excitement to
crazy.
it.
You're right. No, like it does bring viewers, and don't get me wrong, we love to see that. We love controversies. We love the drama, but who's going to initiate it?
All right, Gussie.
Everybody is
would you,
soft to initiate it.
Gussie, if you could get away with it and a young up and coming angler mouth off to you, would you take
Yeah.
care of it?
Yeah. And
See,
it's like,
I like him more every day.
no, for sure. And it's like
A
on the
couple of guys
water.
scratching it out on the ramp would just let it go
Yeah.
viral quickly.
Be like a Friday night pot tournament.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no. And it's just like when guys pull up and are pulling up on top of you fishing. And like, if you don't say anything to them, they're just going to continue casting on your juice, and they're going to do it to you again the next time. But usually the minute you say something to them, like, what are you doing? You'll never see them near you again. Right. And yeah, I think it's sort of the same thing, but it's just our society now. Like, yeah, you can't. That's why I love hockey so much, is because, yeah, if you go do something sketchy out there, then you're gonna have to probably like pay you're gonna have to fight or stand up for yourself.
Just have a sword fight with your rods.
Hey,
Which graphite will break?
Which graphite will break? Whose rod is the best rod? We'll figure it out when they beat the hell out of each other. But you know what I'm saying? I know we're joking around, but I've always wondered if you guys kind of police yourselves a little bit behind the scenes that we don't get to see.
No, I think you not as much as you probably could, but just because it's just the way things are right now. Now, yeah. Especially like for me, because I'm from Canada, I don't want to just get sent home and then not be allowed to cross the border again because I punched out a little.
They're going to take his permission away to fish in the United
Yeah.
States. Yeah. So, that would be. Well, wouldn't be funny. That would be sad. So let's get back to a serious question. Dustin Wright's asked this several times, and Dustin, I apologize, it gets lost. Is there a difference between smallmouth in the South and smallmouth in the North, and why is that?
Yeah, like I don't
like
think,
you guys.
I don't think smallmouths in the South, other than like those ones in Knoxville, for some reason act a lot like where I'm from. But like most of the Tennessee River smallmouths are just the different species, pretty much. Like they're not really similar at all. Like up north, when it's nice out in the summertime, if it's sunny and nice, calm, hot, there's going to be lots of big ones up shallow. And if it's cloudy and windy, they don't like to be in shallow. You're not going to catch them good in shallow water. That's like if you're going up north, number one, like simple thing you need to know. And, I don't know. It's a lot different up north. Like I said, small baits are usually the best, and fishing them down south, they seem to like bigger baits better in a lot of places.
It is different.
Yeah. So going back to what you said about the Knoxville Knoxville? The Knoxville smallmouth are different than the ledge fishing or whatever. So the lake that you obviously won the classic, was it Fort Loudon?
Yeah, Tellico.
Is that what you're talking about? They're more like the fish up north.
Yeah, for whatever reason, and that's wintertime when I've been there, but those fish were there's not a lot of rocks there, and the rocks at that place are like a magnet for them. And I figured that out, and then they really liked that jerk shad smelt nader and the jerk shad deal, and I could get on top of them and fish with 2D pretty much. And if you looked at the graph and just looked at the screen, I mean, exactly like how they act where I live, like the depth, they'd see your bait coming down and they're coming up to meet it. And I don't know. That was kind of similar, but like I fished at Pickwick quite a bit and check them, some of the other Tennessee River lakes. And I mean, they just are not even, it's not even, and nothing, up north is relevant. Cumberland, I've fished there a few times, and there's, obviously good smallmouths, but like I didn't know. Yeah. You wouldn't know.
Because I'm going to be moving up there.
Oh yeah.
In like 6 weeks. So
really?
So you're using this for your own information
Yeah,
and
so I can
benefits.
get a little bit of
what we're
information on
doing.
Fort Loudon.
I get it. I had a customer come in, wanted me to ask this question to you. Do you have any what you call like no banana on the boat? Any superstitions, or do you have any habits that you have to do every single time you go out on the water in a tournament?
I see the Randy Haynes, Jason Lambert. That was as close to a full-on brawl as we were probably ever going to see in a pro tournament.
I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of superstitions. No, not really. I've got a couple little lucky charms in my boat that if I'm having a tough day, I'm going to give them a little rub for good luck maybe, but usually it never helps.
Well, I got that. Do you feel spots on Lanier fish more like smallies or northern largemouths?
Smallies for sure. Yeah, just the pelagicness and the way that they suspend and all that.
That makes sense. When you pull up to a brush pile now using forward-facing sonar, Ken Pruitt had a question earlier about cutting off, and I'm sorry, Ken, that I missed it, but about cutting off the boat when you're pulling up to a spot. Do you do things like that? Because you're talking about noise. So first of all, do you cut off your motor?
Yeah.
And then second, do you find now that you're casting a lot more to the brush pile than before when we were vertically with 2D?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll probably stop, 60, 80 yards out and try and sneak up. Like any bass, any species, if they know you're there, your chances of catching them go down. I mean, I would say 50% at least once they know you're there, and maybe a lot more in some cases. So if you can get your bait in front of them before they know you're there, your odds of catching them are way much higher. The nice thing about like forward sonar with fishing around the brush is you can see where your bait is. So you can drop it, I like to pull it over top of a pile, and hopefully one comes shooting up and eats. And if they don't, when you can drop your bait next to it and then not get snagged. In that TAA tournament, my routine was to cast at the brush first, just going off a waypoint, like I could get it in the ballpark. The problem is you're getting snagged way more because I'm just sending it up there and hoping I'm falling near and like it's clear those spots can see I do know like that they can see your bait from a lot farther away than you think they can. So you just hope that one grabs it. I just watch my line and hopefully it jumps or it gets to bottom, give it a few shakes and then reel in and, move over 10, 20 feet, do it again. Same thing. I would try and cast at the brush piles a few times, and then I would go over and get on top of them with 2D and drop one down. And I did catch some doing that, but then the one thing I'd learn is like, okay, this brush has fish on it, and I could come back to it maybe a couple hours later and try it again and maybe catch one.
Yeah.
But without having the forward sonar, I mean, you go through a lot more baits because you're getting snagged way more, and there's nothing you can do about it.
How much time do you give a brush pile? Because I know when we talk to Emil Wagner and all that, they'll pull up to one. Sometimes they'll scan it and then they're gone. They don't see it. But if they've got something they want to cast at, 1, 2, 3 cast, or do you get like 70, 80 spots?
Yeah, because like the one thing I do know about Lanier and most spotted bass is if they're gonna bite, you want to get them to bite like on your first shot. And once they know something's up, I'd rather just cast at a brush pile like 2, maybe 3 times. And if I don't catch one, even if there's fish there, like if they're following it and everything, I just leave, come back and try it again an hour later, 2 hours later. And I think you're better off because like, again, once they know something's up, they know you're there, your odds of catching them go down way more. Like I might try a second bait. Like if I get denied on something, I might throw another bait in there and try something different, but I'm not going to go through like 6 different baits or colors to try and, usually that's not going to
entice them to bite. Yeah. Do you think they feel the sonar? Because you're back to alerting to your presence, and that was a question from Brad Silvers.
Yeah, I see that. I hear that every day from people. It's what are your thoughts on that? And I mean, yeah, probably. Like if I fish that minnow a lot, and like if I've got a pack of them following it, I'll often turn the sonar away and just keep doing what I'm doing. But it's hard to know. Like up where I live, the fish are pretty easy to catch. So like, and not as many people are hitting them, but a place like Lanier, they're getting hit with that every day. Like I'm sure they can feel it. And like, yeah, when I was there, like I said, it seemed like when I was there in January, if they got near the boat, like they didn't want anything to do with your bait or anything. And I'm hitting them. But in that tournament that I fished, the TAA tournament, I just had the 2D going, and it seemed like they were a little more tolerant of like the boat getting on top of them, for what it's worth.
That's it. Yeah, that's interesting you said that, because Jason Johnson, that we've talked about, made a post on his Facebook about nowadays using that, you have to cast to the brush pile, but turning it off, just using 2D, he was able to go back. And so these days there's not as much vertical jigging over the brush pile with a drop shot as there used to be. And he assessed it to that.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm not going to be 100% for sure, but it's something that we should all be cognizant of for sure. Just to, maybe you shut it off if you can, if they're getting close to the boat, or where your bait, you got fish on your bait, maybe shine it the other way.
All right. So John B wants to know, without forward facing sonar, what is your favorite bait when trying to cover water in a highland reservoir?
If
you're just going out there blind.
Yeah, probably a jerk bait.
Okay, that's simple enough.
Yeah.
Does Gussy use the IMX BJR, or does he have another choice for bladed jigs?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome rod. Also, that is my favorite swim jig rod with braid on it. Like I just put 30 or 40 pound braid, and it's pretty soft, and so it's an awesome, a real accurate casting rod. So like shad spawn stuff, fishing bank grass. It's not like, I wouldn't use that rod like maybe in Florida for a swim jig where you need like a little bit more meat maybe, but like for most places in the Tennessee River and central south, I would say that it's a really sweet swim jig rod too.
Okay, what the hell does Clint Bartlett mean when he said he assessed to that low, Danny, you skint back? What does that mean? What did he assess to? I have no idea. You know Clint as well as I do there, Gussy. I don't know what he's
I have no idea.
I don't know. Clint might be 3 or 4 drinks in right now. Who
knows?
That's
right all good. Clint, let us know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, so he's that guy right there. So Paul Coonan wants to know, is there a discounted or old school bait that Gussy would like to see brought back?
There definitely are some. It's funny because like once a bait gets discontinued or it's gone, there's just like you're like a crazy person trying to find more of them. I don't know.
Tough question.
Like I never even used them anymore, like the wiggle warts. But like when I fished FLW, we'd go to Beaver Lake every year, and like guys would make the top 10 on old school wiggle warts every year, and that's probably the thing that I like used to try and get original wiggle warts.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. You like throwing what's that top water bait you like throwing there, Kevin?
Which one?
The old school one.
Oh, the jitterbug.
Jitterbug. Yeah, he's a jitterbug fanatic like that. So I tried to say assessed and I added a T into it. So he's making fun of the way I was talking.
No, he's on you. He's getting after you.
Yeah, it's on me. What do you feel is the most underrated JDM bait?
Underrated. The hottest one right now is probably that Sakamata shad minnow bait. Underrated. I don't know. That Mega Bass jerk bait is like, it's hard to beat. Like I've got a whole box full. I try every jerk bait, and keep them all honest. But like that, the 110 plus ones and the regular Mega Bass jerk baits are, they've been around for a long time and like just are fish catchers. They're legit. They're worth the money.
Legit. All right, so we're getting a little on late in the day, and this man's been on the water all day, so I don't want to keep him too much longer. You got a question?
Yeah, I'm assuming you guide somewhat in the off season.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't do as much anymore as I used to, but like growing up, that was I guided fishing, and then we had really good deer hunting for a number of years. It's kind of in a lull down part of the cycle right now. We live about as far north as the deer go, so we had a number of bad winters, lots of wolves, but yeah, guide. And then I did ice fishing. I did a lot of guiding ice fishing too, sort of just figure out how to get outdoors.
What about this shed hunting that you do too?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a shed hunter?
Yeah. So when our deer hunting was really good, I started like spending time in the woods in the spring just to like scout for more places to set up deer stands. And it's all big, like I live in a pretty remote place, so it's all public land. I'd access a lot of the places that I would hunt by boat, and you could find deer that had like never seen a human before. It was awesome. If you like deer hunting, it was like the greatest thing ever. And so I'd go out in the spring and scout around, and I just started finding antlers. Like I had days where I couldn't even carry them all out of the woods. I'd find so many. And we have it's the Canadian Shield is where I live. Like that's sort of the geographic area. So we have a lot of big like rock ridges, and the deer would spend a lot of their winter on the south facing sides of the big hills and ridges, and they get a little more sun. There's not as much snow on top of those hills. They can have maybe an escape on some of the the wolves are brutal up there. But that's where you'd find all the sheds, are like on the south facing sides of all the big hills and ridges. And I used to do that. Like I loved it.
That's awesome.
Those wolves are pretty big up there, aren't they?
Yeah. The biggest one, the biggest one the guys killed with me is probably like 150 pounds. But like most of them, they never would weigh as much as you would think, but they never stop moving. Like they don't have a stitch of fat on them, but long legs and big feet, big heads. They're kind of.
I think people realize how big a wolf is.
Yeah,
they're big. They're not a coyote. They're
heard there's
big.
wolves up here.
No, we ain't got no wolves in Georgia. We got
heard
coyotes.
there's wolves up here.
You
I heard the wolves been put here to control the coyotes, and they're not breedable or whatever it's called.
Not breedable.
They can't breed.
They're not breedable.
They can't mate. There you go.
Yes, and he's from Florida. They're not breedable. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know about that, but I know that where he lives, the damn things eat you though. I mean, those are big ones. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no. The one thing they don't want it. They're like an alligator. Like they don't really want anything to do with people. Like I've actually ran into them a couple times. Like when I would be putting deer bait out or checking cameras and stuff. I have run into them a few times, and it gets your heart pumping a bit. But I mean, they see you and they're gone. Like you would never see them there very often for how many there are. They don't really want anything to do with people.
See, that's why he's not afraid to enforce stuff behind the scenes. The man's out there in the woods with wolves. See,
Right.
Look at him. Yeah, so that's it. Last question from a viewer tonight was about crankbaits. I saw a video of Gussy cranking for smallies. What situation would you crank on the Great Lakes?
When it's windy and the water gets colored up, that's when you're going to catch them on crankbaits. And Lake St. Clair is a place, Lake Erie, where you see tournaments actually get won with crankbaits quite a bit. So if anyone goes to Lake St. Clair, you can bring those like 15 to 20 foot diving, like deep crankbaits, and you can light them up. But you definitely want a little bit of wind and like current or colored water. Up where I live, more in like the rivers and like where there's current, that's where they really shine.
I lied to you. I got one more question because it's about coyote hunting.
I'm all good.
It's about coyote hunting. Do you ever use a call for them? If so, what caller do you use?
No, we're allowed to bait for the wolves. Like we don't have coyotes, but when we're allowed to put bait out, so that's how I would set up for all the wolf hunting. So I would like get all the like moose and deer carcasses and scraps like from the hunting season, and I'd freeze them in the ice. So, because if you didn't freeze them, they'd just take them away. But you'd freeze them in the ice, and then they'd have to like come back to it. Like the best is if you got a roadkill deer, and like my buddies and I, like when I was going hard doing this, if there was a roadkill, like I had a whole crew of people like on the lookout for them, and we'd pick them up, and like I would drill 2 holes in the ice, and you'd put their back legs in one and the front legs in one, and like sort of stand them up on the ice. And
You did that.
Yeah, and that was the best, and you'd get some mileage out of the bait. But so I would set them up on like these beaver ponds or little back bays. Like you wouldn't want to put them in where people are going to be like riding around on snowmobiles and messing it up. And then I'd put a ground blind in the woods, and it would be anywhere from a 2 to 300 yard, 150 to 300 yard shot from the blind out to the bait. But you try and get the wolves to get out on the ice. And the most important thing is the bait had to have birds on it, like ravens and eagles and crows. Not the crows all go south, but we have these. Like, do you guys have ravens?
Hell, I think they're crows down here. I don't know if we got true ravens. I know we got
like
crows.
Twice the size of a crow, but they get on. They're like just like garbage eaters, and they would get on the bait and like make all kinds of noise. And I know that's like a big safety thing for the wolves, because like I can remember times I'd be late getting the guy into his blind, and I'd take him to the blind on a snowmobile. I'd be late getting him in there, and like you'd spook all the birds off the bait. And sometimes they would go back within 20 minutes and it was fine. And other times those birds would just sit in a tree all day and not touch the bait. And there would never be a wolf there. And like I'd put trail cameras on the baits too. And like that's just one thing I learned is like if there was no birds on that bait, the wolves wouldn't go near it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
If you stuck them up like that here in South Georgia, somebody would spotlight that thing and shoot it. I mean, seriously, they just would. You drive down the road down here, I hear gunshots at night all the time. I know exactly what the hell they're doing. They're spotlighting deer.
What about
you can call the wolves though, but I just never I never did it just because it was the baiting. We're allowed to bait up there, and I know in like Minnesota or some of those northern states you're not allowed to bait them, but we're allowed to in Ontario, so that was what we did.
That's awesome. What was you going to say about?
Do you guys ever run into like mountain lions, cougars, and stuff,
or bears?
Lots of bears. We have a lot of black bears around where I'm at, but no mountain lions.
Now the black bears where he's at though are a lot bigger than the black bears here. Am I right on that?
I think like any deer, all the animals just get bigger if they live up. They just need to be bigger bodied to like survive the cold up there, I think,
So John B wants to know what type of deer. You're hunting whitetail.
Whitetails, yeah.
Yeah, right there. So
yeah.
Philip Hutchins, Danny. Hell, I don't even know what question I said, but
I've got a website, gussyoutdoors.com, and like I haven't put any deer pictures on there in like 5 or 6 years at least, but like if you go back and look at some of my deer pictures from like back in the day, like the trail cam shots and that, there's like some giants on there. It was world class, and it'll come around again, but it's just it's not that good right now. We just had a bunch of bad winters, like lots of snow, and it kills a lot of the bucks because they're all run down from the rut, like going into the winter, and then the wolves just light up those bucks big time.
Okay, so Philip says we do have bigger black bears down here. I've got one in my trash about every other night now. I'm serious. I'm going to take care of them. Now, one thing before I let you go, though, down here in the South, we have this thing that we need a cold winter to kill all the bugs. Yeah. Okay, y'all get cold as hell up there where you are, and every time I see a bear hunting video or something like that, there are bugs all over the place. So that kind of dispels that myth. Am I correct in that?
If you're like an hour before dark, outside my house, you could hardly breathe because the mosquitoes will be so thick. But it's for us, if it's wet, like if we're getting, and I know this, my wife was, she said the bugs were brutal earlier this evening, and like, if it's wet and you're getting lots of rain, then there's going to be a lot of mosquitoes. But yeah, The bugs are bad up there. That's the one thing that we have that's bad in the summertime for sure.
I just always notice that down here, they're like, all the old timers like, if we don't get a hard freeze, all the bugs are going to be bad. I'm like, damn, it's frozen half the year up there where them guys are at. And every time I watch a video over there, just bugs flying all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
no, I think if it's dry, then kind of a little bit more dry, then that's the best like deterrent for the bugs. Like I think they hatch and they only live for a couple days and then their hatch happens,
Y'all got a ton of them though. There are a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently I was wrong because everybody's correcting me as our viewers do often. Our black bears down here are heavier because they don't hibernate and they don't lose weight and all that stuff. So, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys telling me that. So before I let you go, the rest of the year, what are you looking forward to the most as far as what you got left?
Well, I fished Smith Lake a number of times, but again, only in the winter. I've never fished it this time of year. The guys are saying it's going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of pleasure boats out there and whatnot. So I love fishing for spotted
I got
bass.
some laughing in the comments section about a lot of boats going to be out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to next week though. Yeah. Any chance I get, it's like you guys, when you get to go smallmouth fishing, it's kind of a treat and you enjoy it. And that's how I am with the spotted bass. So, but yeah, and then we got the two New York tournaments in August, Champlain and the St. Lawrence. Those are always blast, like fun. I look forward to those. So I'm like a little bit outside the classic cut line right now. I got to get it together and, have three solid ones here I definitely don't want to ever miss being part of the classic.
Understood. But you know what? They can't never take that one away from you though, can they?
No.
That's a big deal, dude.
Yeah, no, it's life changing for sure. And I get to every time I get to go home, I get to see the big trophy and it makes you feel good. That's for sure.
You gonna be at ICAST this year?
I am not. I'm going to be fishing up in Canada.
Oh, you dog you.
Hey, I don't blame you. ICAST is just for YouTubers and all that stuff.
Is that what?
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
That's what it. Well, yeah, I was looking forward to seeing them so like that. So next time you come down to Lanier,
we got a tournament on Rainy Lake that week, a 3-day tournament, the Fort Francis Canadian Bass Championship. So it's a big one. I fished it since I was like 18 years old, and I'm not missing it.
Okay, I don't blame you at all. Well, listen, I want to echo what I think from everybody. We'll say is like number one, you're a class act, and it's easy to root for you, very easy to root for you, and I appreciate you taking time to come on our lowly podcast. Down there, I got you know what it did. I wasn't lying earlier when you told me you listened to us from time to time. That really meant a lot to me, and so I'm actually glad to spend some time with you on camera. We appreciate it so much.
Well, hope maybe next year when I'm in the area, I can come in and get in the studio with you guys and really get the banter going. But no, I have a lot of friends from your neck of the woods, and like I said earlier, it's one of my favorite places to fish, and I'm glad to come on, and I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, next time you're down here, we'll see if we can schedule you to come in here because it's a lot better when you're in here.
Yeah,
we give you a lot more harder time, all that. So, but again, best wishes on the rest of the season. And again, we're going to be rooting hard for you and all that. And I really do appreciate your time tonight. So, guys, with that, we're going to let Gussy go. He's been on the water all day. He's got to get ready for Smith. You guys make sure you follow him on the Bassmaster Elite Trail. And guys, thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week. If you're on the water this weekend, it's going to be hot here in North Georgia. And make sure you take all the safety precautions with all the fools out there in the other boats because we always want to make sure you guys get back here next week. So, guys, we appreciate it. You have a great week.